Howdy YouTube, Unky Joe here, Unky Joe's Playhouse. I have an exciting announcement today. You hear that? Yeah, silence. No roaring of AC in the background. Well, that's probably because it's 30 degrees outside and I don't have the air conditioner on in the shop. And you know, I went back on some of those previous videos I did, and that air conditioner is really annoying. Y'all really should have told me. So, fortunately, it's a cool morning. I got up it's about 8 o'clock now. I got up about 6 o'clock this morning to get this project started because I couldn't sleep anymore. I've been getting a lot of sleep lately because I've been sick. So it's about 69 degrees here in my office. So it's nice and cool. So in the future, I'm going to try to avoid having that window unit on until we get into the summer months. But one of the projects I'm going to be doing this spring is we're going to be putting we've gone ahead and set aside the money to buy a mini split heat pump for my office so that I'll have a very quiet air conditioner and heater in here come spring. But I digress. Today's video, well, is part one in a series that I want to do, and it's part of the Windows Lab series, and it's part of a favorite series of videos I know everybody likes, and that is my Dell R710 server. And in fact, right behind me now, if you look where my thumb is, there's a cart, and on the top of that cart is the Dell R710 server that my subscribers were so kind enough to donate a couple of $100 so I could buy that last year from Garland Computer in over on eBay. I got that server for about $200. It's another dual Xeon, you know, 24. I don't remember the specs. I'll put up later, but it's not important. But that is a unit that I do my lab series of videos on, and I'm going to be the reason I'm doing this server update now is because I want to. There's a couple of things. This unit has a Dell 6i PERC controller in it. The problem with that controller is it only supports serial ATA2 and SAS2 drives. So I'm only getting 3 gigabit per second on throughput on that controller. The other thing it doesn't support drives larger than 3 terabyte or 2.5 terabyte. And it doesn't support SSD drives, which eventually I will purchase and replace my spinning drives with SSD drives. So this is part of the reason I bought this server, because it's so damn versatile. So what that required is for me to purchase a different controller card to put into that server in order to allow it to use serial ATA and SAS6 drives, or serial ATA3 drives. And it'll also allow me to go over 4 terabyte in drive size if I decide to do that, which I don't think I'll do, and I'll tell you why. The other thing it allows me to do is use SSD drives. So let's do a little research on that controller. I want to bring up some information on it and show you why I chose that controller and what model it is. All right, so I'm going to bring up the Dell PowerEdge RAID controller card PDF file here for y'all to see. So the one I got was the H700. That's this one right. Let me get my mouse to show. That's this card right back here. The H700. And the reason I got it, if you look right here, is it is a. This is the one I have now, the PERC 6i. Okay. So you can compare them side to side. One is a 3 gigabit SAS, the other one's version 1.1, the other one is 6 gigabit SAS 2.0. Both of them are 2x4 8-channel cards. They both run on an 8X PCI 1. One of them runs on a 1.0, the other one runs on a 2. It has 2 internal connectors. The cache memory is double what I have on the PERC 6i. They both have a battery back cache. They both support RAID levels up to 60. Maximum number of drives is 16. And here's the big one. HDD support SAS and serial ATA, both controllers. SSD support SAS and serial ATA on the old 6i controller. Serial ATA only on the SSD drives on the PERC 6i. So that's another reason to replace it. Controller firmware, etc. Let's see here. So here is the PERC H700 card. Let's see, it says additional sled for PCI slot. Okay, all right. This is the PERC H700 modular. Now, the card I got is the internal, the H700 internal, or integrated as they call it. And you have to be careful when you go shopping for those. Make sure if you go on eBay to look for one of those, you get the integrated module card to replace your PERC 6i, otherwise you're going to have other issues. And this is the PERC H800 or H800. I hope I said that right. So basically, the reason I got this is because it supports 6 gigabit SAS and serial ATA, and it it just goes to tell you what the expectations are on the card, what operating system support, etc. it has. So I'll leave that up there I'll just scroll through here. I wanted to see if there was anything else that I need to. Oh yeah, and if you move your virtual disks around, like if say I have a disk in drive 0 and I move it to drive slot 2, the firmware on the card is smart enough to know that I've moved one of their, because when they configure them as virtual disks. I'm going to do all these disks as pass through, or as just to feed the drive through. I'm not going to use RAID on that card. Now, in theory, I could do a RAID 10 array, which is striping and mirroring, with this card and this controller and the drives I plan to put in it. But as you know, I'm not a big fan of RAID, especially on a server. Now, I've got RAID set up on my Xmenology NAS, and I'm using the Synology hybrid RAID, and it works well, and it has a BTRFS file system on it. That's all fine and good. But on my servers, I'm just going to pass these disks through directly, because all I'm going to be using these drives for internally is for storage for virtual machines and that kind of thing. Now, the other thing I've decided to do is, you're probably wondering what operating system I'm going to put back on this Dell. Well, I'm going to go back with Windows Server 2016, and I'm going to tell you why. It's not that ESXi isn't capable, and it's not that other hypervisors aren't capable hypervisors. It's just there are so many benefits I get by running Windows on this machine. Hyper-V, I get the GUI, I get drive management capabilities, and it really I've got so much memory on these things and so much CPU power. Having a GUI on there really doesn't affect the speed of the server at all. What I'm looking for is to be able to get really fast storage on here for my virtual machines as I set them up into my lab environment. So it's going to be a Windows server again, and now you know why. Now, one thing about this controller, I ran across an interesting article where somebody was bitching online that this controller doesn't report smart failures as a reason to replace the drive. Well, yeah, that's normal. It's not the controller that's doing it. It's the smart on the drive that reports whether it's got reallocated sectors or whatever, and it's up to the end user. I ran into this with when I put FreeNAS on that server, and it told me one of the drives had bad blocks, and the only problem is that I didn't like the way FreeNAS handled the reporting of the error and setting aside of the sectors, and so I put Xmenology on that unit. Now I'm going to use one of those drives. One of those is a 1 terabyte drive. I'm going to use that in this Dell when I hook it back up, so it'll be interesting to see. But I thought that was an interesting article I ran across. The guy was bitching and moaning about, yeah, but it didn't report the drive as bad. Well, because there are smart settings. Smart's a predictive failure. It's my understanding. And until it reaches the threshold that the manufacturer set for smart, it's not going to tell you have a bad hard drive. So, but he was saying that was specific to that H700 controller, and I don't think that's the case. But I just wanted to share that with you. All right, so now let's get into the favorite part, everybody's favorite part of the video, and that's where I actually tear apart a Dell server. So I won't make you wait any longer. Let's get into it. Let's get this controller card installed and get this thing reassembled. And what have we here, boys and girls? This is our Dell R710 server, the one that we have been doing our lab series on, and it has currently been pulled out of the rack so that we can do some updates to it. and I'm about to tell you what those updates are. But first, I just want to give you a little view of the lovely internals of a true server, enterprise grade server. We've seen this server before, but some of my new subscribers who haven't seen my older videos, this server was bought with donations from several people, several subscribers back about a year ago, 9 months ago now, and we got it so we could do a bunch of lab videos. So continuing along those lines, I wanted to continue to do the lab videos, but I have some interests in a couple things, and that is this unit has 6 drive bays, 3.5-inch drive bays. But the problem is that the controller that comes with this unit is a PERC 6i controller, and it has, first of all, I believe it's limited to serial ATA2 speeds, and it's limited to 3 terabyte hard drives. So if I want to put any larger hard drives in this unit later, which I intend to do, or if I wanted to do SSD drives or that kind of thing, I'm better off with using a different controller. And I have ordered that controller in. As you can see, I've removed the spinning hard drives, but that controller has come in. So the controller comes with a cable to attach it. I got this off of eBay. It comes with a battery for the RAID software. It comes with 512 meg of RAM. Let me take this out of the package so you can get a better view of it. So here's a better view of the controller. This is the H700 controller with 512 meg of RAM for that Dell R710. So what we're going to do today is we're going to install this controller. We're going to rip this server to pieces. Well, not literally to pieces, but we're going to replace this controller with the H700. And then in part 2 of this video, we're going to add another component to it. Another exciting component I got, if I can find it. Sure, come with me. As you can see, I've cleaned my server room, or my office here. I've got a device here. Sorry about the low light quality. But I also have this Mellanox 10 gigabit SFP network adapter that we'll be putting in this unit in part 2. And then in part 3, we will go over the operating system installation and configuration. I am going to use Windows Server 2016 because I think I have 5 licenses for that. So I'm going to go ahead and put Windows Server 2016 back on here. And then of course we'll need to restore the virtual machines, the virtual lab machines that we created on this unit. So without further ado, let's get started ripping this bad boy apart. So the first thing we need to do is we need to get some stuff out of the way so that we can, the object is to remove this controller, the control cabling that comes up to here, and replace it all with the new equipment I have. So the first thing I need to do is remove the air baffle that covers the CPUs and the RAM. And you can see I've got a couple of honking CPU coolers right here, and then my RAM is down in here, and I'll do another shot of this. We're also going to clean the server while we're in here. Now the other thing I need to remove is this this fan cage. So you have the ability to remove the fans. Anything that's in orange, you can see they're kind of dirty. Anything that's in orange can be hot swapped. Anything that's in blue has to be removed with the power off. So you'll see a lot of blue tabs here. That means you need to have the power off before you remove any of those components. But the orange ones, like the fans, they can be hot swapped while the server is running. And that makes sense. You don't want to have to bring down a server to swap a fan out. But on this Dell, in order to remove this entire cage, there's 2 blue levers, one on either side. You just flip them and you lift the fan unit out as one piece. Pretty nifty, huh? Suck on that, Morton, at my playhouse. Let's see your IBM do that. No, I'm just kidding. IBM/Lenovo. So now, as you can see, I have access to the back plane. This is the back plane for the serial ATA SAS drive bays in the front here. In my RAM, I've got RAM here, CPUs, and this is the controller we're going to be removing right back here today. So I'm going to set up and get a better shot of that so I can, or you can see me removing that. So we'll cut to that. Okay, I've already done a trial removal of this, so let's see if I can remember the steps that I took to remove it. And I believe I just pull these aside and then pull the controller out of the connectors here very carefully. There we go. So I've slid the card up and out because that removes it, or that releases it from this riser here. So the next thing I want to do, there's a little button down here, and I'm sure you can't see it, but there's a little button on this riser card. You press it to release it. And there's a little button that I'm speaking of, a little bitty blue button. Don't know if you can see it. Let's see if we can get the camera to zoom in on it. See that little bitty blue button right here? Sorry about the focus, but that's what I had to press to get that out. And so we'll set that aside. So now you can see we have this is the PERC 6i controller. That's the next thing that needs to be removed. And I think what I do is just pull this to the side, like so, and then I can lift that card out of there. Now this blue cable is a serial ATA cable. That goes to the DVD-ROM in the front of the computer. This unit happens to have a DVD-ROM. So now it's just simply a matter of this is a battery connection right here. So I just simply push this little lever here, and that battery connector should just lift out, and it does. And then I have my two SAS connectors here. And I think, they're blue on either side, and then they pop out. And keep in mind, I've never done this before, so I don't want to break it. I think they're like that, and then they push up. So push on either side, and then release them. So there is the PERC controller, and it has been removed, and we'll place that to the side. So now what I need to do is I need to focus on these cables here, and I need to follow them up and fish them out, and then remove them from the back plane. So let me get a couple of shots of that back plane close-ups, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So the next thing I need to do is I need to remove this old cabling, and in order to do that, I'm going to need a little more light. It's about 6 in the morning here. I couldn't sleep, so I decided to get up and deal with this. Now this says you just push that down, and then I guess this little cover comes off or slides, or oh yeah, it does. Okay, so we pull this forward, and then that comes off. So hopefully I got that on video so I know how it goes back in. And then it's just simply a matter of putting these cables to the side, taking out these old controller cables very carefully. Don't want to damage anything. Well, they're tucked down in there pretty good. And they've been in here a while. So we take out one, and we take out two. And then the battery cable. Now I wonder if I can use the same battery. This one told me though, every time I boot this machine up, this one tells me after it's been sitting a while that I have a bad battery on here. So I'm probably going to remove this battery as well. Now I just want to make sure you can see everything before I continue on. Let me get a little bit better shot of the back, and the battery's right here. I'm going to go ahead and replace that since I got another battery. So now that I've followed the connectors up, let's start with the battery, and we'll undo it. And you just pull this forward and lift the battery out, and then we'll set the battery aside. And I'm sure there are replacement batteries for that. I would only get a genuine Dell battery, but that's me. I'm just going to move this blue cable over here. Now these SAS connectors, you just push on them here to take the tension off, and then lift them up, and they should come out. I said they should come out. I don't want to break the back plane. There we go. So they're just spring-loaded connectors. That's SAS A, and this is SAS B. So now those connectors are now out of the server. And now, in theory, we can hook up. This is the replacement battery. The only problem is that as you can see, this battery cable is not really long enough to reach. So we're going to have to take the cable. I don't know if you can see this. The cable off the old battery is much longer than the cable on the replacement battery. As you can see, it's quite a bit longer. So I think these are interchangeable. I'll check the color code. I'm almost positive they are. They are the same battery. So they're 7 milliwatt hour. Yeah, 7 watt hour battery. So worst case, I'll have to get a new battery, but I can reuse that old cable. So now what I'm going to do is the reverse of what I did. The other thing that I hope is that these cables are long enough. These connecting cables. So if I compare them, yeah, that could be a problem. These are the old cables. Oh no, they're the same length. As you can see, they're pretty much the same length here. So they're going to work. But they are a different type of cable. This is the cable that came off my old one. And this is the cable for the new controller. And one goes to the back plane and one goes to the controller. And I'll get a better shot of that with another camera. Alright, so these two cables are going to go back here. Wow, they are really odd the way they do this, because the only way these cables can work is to go in there. That's the back plane, and then they have to come around here at an angle, at a heck of an angle. Let's try the other one. And you can't put them the other way because they don't work properly. So this may be a problem. Houston, no, I think we can make that work. I hate bending that wire like that, but you got to do what you got to do to make this work. So there's the two cables on the back plane, and so the next thing we'll do is we'll feed the cables over, put the little piece back in, make sure they fit, and then we'll put the controller card in place. So here's the deal. These are the cables that came with this controller, and you can see we have a little hitch in the get along. This cable needs to be flipped. Let me pop it out of there. This cable actually needs to go in like this. Okay, and this one here as well, right here. Sorry about the horrible camera angle. This one needs to go the other way as well. So they both need to turn this way. Then the other problem is that because the fan cage runs along here, there's no way to route these wires underneath. These wires have to come into this little there's a little channel made to run these cables in. They come over here, and then they come to the controller card here, which will eventually mount in here. So the other problem is the distance. They're just not long enough. So I went on eBay and I found, I think it's a model number M246 cable that is made to go from this H700 controller to a 3.5-inch backplane, which is what I have. These cables, it appears, are made for the 2.5-inch backplane. So even though this unit came with the cables, they don't work. So what I'll eventually do is put these cables on eBay and let somebody else buy them off me for $5 or $10 plus shipping. So we're at a holding pattern now with this server. There's not much I can do with it until I get the cables in, and frankly it's probably going to be a week or more, because even though these cables are located in Kentucky, they say, I have a feeling they have to come in from Hong Kong and then be shipped along my way. They may have them in stock, but I've ordered the 2 cables. They're about $33 for 2 cables, but when you're dealing with enterprise level equipment, you're going to pay a little bit higher price. I paid hardly anything for the controller card. I paid I think $80 for the controller card, the cables, and the battery. And you know, this is a, I don't know, it was a $300 or $400 or $500 card when it was new. So I'm getting a really good break on that, so I'm not going to be worried about a couple of cables. And I want to make sure I do this right. I could probably, I don't think these cables will even work. I think you'll get an error if you try to use these cables. It's what I've been reading online. So I just want to play it safe and make sure I have the right cables. So it means we're going to delay this project about a week or so. But you know, hey, it's part of the thing about doing you know, a YouTube show. Sometimes things don't work out, and I prefer to share with you the problems I have or the misfortunes I run into, just so you're prepared. So don't let it bother you. And you can see I've got the server up on my little hand cart here that when I was doing my office cleaning, I was able to get everything organized, and the big thing was to get this hand cart going so I could move servers around, and I've got all the components laying out there. So we'll have to wait to continue on with this install once we get the cables in. Well, hey, shit happens, right? Yeah. I figured I was going to have a hitch in the get-along, and you know, when I ordered that card off eBay, it said it came with cables, but what I failed to ask the seller was, does it come with the cables for the 3.5-inch backplane or the cables for the 2.5-inch backplane? And those cables were obviously for the 2.5-inch backplane. So I went online, did a little bit of research, and I ran across a Spiceworks article where one of the guys told me, in fact, I'll show you where it is. Let me bring it up here. So I ran across this article, and he said, you know, make sure you get the right integrated version of the card, and make sure the ones linked are for the 2.5 version, not the 3.5. And then it gives me a model number M246M should work, even though they are a bit longer. And then they aren't the official cable, but he's used them and they worked. So I went online to eBay and I found these cables. Now, of course, it says it ships it out of Kentucky, but we all know they come from Hong Kong. And here's 2 cables, and you notice the right angle connector on these is correct compared to the ones that I have. And then the other end connects up, of course, to the controller card. And each one of these cables is 75 centimeters or 30 inches long. So this is the best deal I could find for $32.99 for 2 of them, including free shipping. So I went ahead and grabbed them. And that's something that happens with enterprise level equipment. You don't want to, you know, I could have tried to make these cables work, but as I did a little more research on the web, I found that these cables, if I use them with that 3.5-inch backplane, will actually throw up an error. So they wouldn't have, even if I could have made the cables reach and work, it wouldn't have been right, and it wouldn't have worked anyway. And I'd rather have the proper cables so I can put them in that channel and get it all hooked up. So, and the fact that we have to wait just makes it more exciting, knowing there's going to be another video coming on it. So this video, like I said, is going to be a multi-parter, because ultimately we are also going to be installing a 10 gig network card in here that I got off eBay a few weeks ago as well. And that's part of the reason I went with Windows, because I didn't want to have to futz around with Linux or Unix or BOS or any of the other derivatives of Linux or Unix to get drivers to work for that Mellanox 10 gig networking card. It'll work out of the box with Windows. So anyway, that's just the way things go. So we'll have to wait till those parts come in, and then we'll continue on with the series of the video. Anyway, I hope you found this video entertaining and informative. As always, give us a thumbs up down below if you liked it. Leave your comments in the comments section. We're coming up on 2,000 subscribers. It's a big day. It's going to be a happy birthday for me. My birthday is this month. I'll be turning, and that's a good thing. And so it'll be fun to see if I get 2,000 subscribers by my birthday. Anyway, thanks again for watching. Please subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. And if you're so inclined and you want to donate, we take Patreon and PayPal. PayPal is our preferred method of donating, but if you want to be a Patreon subscriber, that's fine as well. Again, thanks for watching, and don't forget, we will see ya on the other side.